Welcome to Peeking Over the Fence, a podcast where we share real stories of healing and hope. We are your hosts, Missy and Karen, and we're so glad you're here.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Missy.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm
Good.
great. The weather in Virginia today is, I worked all day, but when I came out of work, I don't
Mm,
even know what the temperature was, but it was this breeze, and I didn't even have a sweater or anything on, and it
right.
was just warm, and things are blooming,
Oh, I
and
love it.
yes, and it just feels fresh and
Right.
hopeful.
And
Like,
after that long winter you guys had, it probably is
after the long winter.
like, thank you, God. Yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of been back and forth here. It's been like 85 or it's been 55. It's like this bounce.
Well, it's been like that here too. Like, you can't, like, one day I got my bundled all up to take the dogs out, and it was like 70 some degrees in the morning, but then it snowed that afternoon.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it was like it's been really wonky
Right.
here too. But yeah,
Right. Yeah, we
yeah.
went to Baltimore, as you know. We went to opening day for the Orioles on Thursday, and we got there, and I was not prepared for how cold it was. But the next day, like opening day, was gorgeous. It
Oh,
was
thank goodness.
right. It was so amazing. Like the weather was perfect. And then the next day, we woke up and it was raining and cold, and I'm like, what is going on?
At least for the game.
I was so grateful. Yeah, I was so grateful.
And we
So.
can say in our Baltimore accent, go O,
Go
or listen.
A's.
Oh, yeah, yeah, one
Yeah,
for the O's because they won.
right. It was such a good game. It was so fun being home. I mean, I still consider that home.
And the kids went. Did Billy go too?
Billy did not go. He
Okay.
had a bunch of stuff to go at work, but we took my nephew, who's like my adopted nephew. It's my best friend's son, but he's my nephew.
Okay. Is that
And so,
who Ben was in pictures with?
yes, but
Okay.
he looks so much like Ben. It's so funny.
I thought it was a relative.
Right. They have like the same long hair, they have the tattoos and the piercings and stuff, and it's so funny. They just look so much alike. So Dominic, Billy, or Dominic, Ben, and Cassie all look alike. And then my best friend's oldest daughter and Billy look alike. It's so weird. It's so funny. But when me and my best friend were pregnant at the same time with Dominic and Billy. And
Oh.
they were supposed to be 3 weeks apart. However, Dominic was born 6 weeks early, and that kid, he's a big kid. Like he is just
Oh, so
big.
he's the same age as Billy, not Ben.
Yes, he's the
Oh my gosh, I love it.
yeah,
Okay.
so he's the same age as Billy, and they grew up together, and it's just so cute, and they have such a great relationship, and I love it. Like, I just love that they all are like friends. So when Billy said he wasn't going, Dominic was like the first person we called because he loves the Orioles too. So yeah, it's always nice to go back and hang out and see everybody. And we got to see the grandparents on Friday and have dinner. And I got to see my great nephew. And
Oh,
um,
right.
yeah, so
He's
Charlie,
growing and
he just
yeah.
turned a year old and
Oh, I saw the pictures. Yes.
he's just precious. So yeah, so it's always fun. It's just never enough time. It's never enough time to see everybody. Which we always say it, we're just going to go up for a few days and see everybody, but it never works out that way. So anyway,
Anywho, yeah.
anywho, we're going to go from that lighthearted conversation to talking about Holy Week and just I don't okay, so I know we've always like everybody always talks about it, and there's some people who really do take the time to start on Sunday and they really go through the whole week, right? There's some people that just go to church for Palm Sunday. They acknowledge and honor Good Friday and then of course Easter Sunday. And so I don't know what it is about this year, but it is really hitting me really hard this year. Like I'm really taking the time to walk through what this week truly means and how impactful it is. We were talking before we started recording, and we both talked about like it is the most important event in
The Christian faith,
Christianity. Like it is really truly like Jesus, we always, like you had said, focus on Jesus's birth. However,
which
this
was miraculous and important.
right,
We're not saying that wasn't
right,
significant. It was very significant.
very significant. However, the significance of Jesus being crucified for us is why
Willingly going to the cross
willingly going to
because
us.
that was the only way.
Right. And that like that's what started, all of it to me. Like I feel like, we start with Palm Sunday, and it's like a celebration, and you
And
know
the week gets worse and worse.
the week just goes downhill from there, basically. Like, like Palm Sunday. And honestly, growing up, I didn't really truly grasp what Palm Sunday was. Like, I
We
didn't,
just wanted to go to church and get our palms,
right. Like,
our
I
palm
wanted to get my
leaves.
palm, and I had my palm, and here it is. And I went to church, and everybody looked at me. However, the people back then, it was like they were yelling Hosanna and save us, and they thought they were welcoming this king that was going, this warrior that was coming to save them. They didn't know truly what Jesus was about. Their mindset was he's here. The ones that believe, the ones that were celebrating him when he came in on the donkey, and just the significance of him coming in on a donkey was humbling. Whereas most kings that in that time would come in on chariots and horses, and it's this pomp and circumstance. However, he came in on a donkey. And, but then you have these people who were just cheering him on and waving the palms and throwing down their robes as he entered the town. And it's like those same people a few days later were chanting for his death.
Hmm.
How quickly things changed.
Hmm.
So,
The same voices
right. The same,
that were calling him the Savior
right.
are yelling, crucify him.
Right. And so I think at that moment too, you have to remember and you have to think okay, Jesus knew what was coming. What were the
Let's,
disciples thinking at that
yeah.
time?
Well, let's bring it back to just for a second
Mhm.
to humanity and how that shift and change
Right.
and how we're like, oh my goodness, how horrible. But humanity's not that different. We're not that different, right? Like we
Not at
can
all.
praise God when things feel good
Mm-hmm.
and question everything when they don't,
Right.
right? When
Right.
things aren't going exactly the way,
Mm.
you know, where are you? What have,
And we've all been there. We've all been in
we've
those
all been
places.
there. And so, I mean, I think in so many ways, when we're reading these stories, we see these people as villains.
Mm.
And
Right.
really they're just humans like us, right? So,
And we all want to sit and think like, no, we wouldn't be that way. We would,
not to point out that we're a bunch of sinners, but
but we are. But we
right,
are.
and that's
Like,
why he went to the cross. Yeah.
that's why I say, like, think of, okay, you have people who actually witness these wonders, these miracles happen, and they saw for their own eyes what Jesus could do, right? You have the disciples who were right there with him, who truly really didn't fully understand what he was about to do. Like
Mhm.
they truly didn't know. And would how would we be back then and we if we didn't witness any of that? Would we
Right,
believe?
because we knew like we had witnessed these miracles,
Right.
right? Why would he? We know that he could have saved himself from
Right.
the cross. So you would
Yeah.
never think that would happen.
Right.
And just in case you're like listening, there is no condemnation in
No.
those who love Jesus. So when I said we're a bunch of sinners, that's not, I didn't mean that as
Right.
condemning. I could hear it now. Pause.
Delete.
Next podcast.
Next
Yeah.
podcast. I'm not listening to this one. But it's true because we all do things sometimes willingly, unwillingly, make decisions, choices, or whatever that are not honoring God. And in turn, that
That's
makes
why
us,
he died on the cross.
and that's why he died on the cross. And so we look at Palm Sunday and we look at ourselves and say we would be there celebrating and welcoming in this king, but we also can see ourselves a few days later not believing in him. And
Gosh, I hope that wouldn't be me. Don't
I
you
would
hope
I
that?
would hope and pray that
I
would not
hope
be me.
that would be, I hope I'd go against the crowd and
Right. And like each day, like I know we look at, the following day on Monday, which was yesterday of Holy Week, and we kind of like brush through that, right? We're just kind of holding our breath for Good Friday. However, you know, during Holy Week back then, it's when Jesus started to get really, really vocal and
he's
sassy.
he was
Like
getting serious.
he was getting serious and like people talk about he flipped tables because when he walked into the temple and the area where that's supposed to be holy, there are people selling things and there's animals and there's yelling and it's noise and it's not a reverent place. It's not a holy place anymore. And he started flipping tables because he was so angry that they were not honoring God in his own house. Like this was a place that you're supposed to be worshiping God, and then the Sadducees, what I never I want to say Sadducees, but it's not that. The Pharisees, Sadducees, right? I
Oh
never
shoot, hold on.
Sadducees.
Sadducees. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm trying to
Sadducees?
say
Okay.
that word. Um, and he's talking to them too the next day on Tuesday, which is today, and this is when we're recording. We're on
Well,
Tuesday.
let's go back. Let's go
Yeah.
back to the Monday, the cleansing and
Yes.
the tables, and just to ask this question, what needs to be cleared out in us,
Oh, right.
right? Where in our lives do we maybe need to flip some tables?
Right. And I think that is a good way to really walk through Holy Week is looking what Jesus did, especially on that day when he was doing the cleansing. Like you just said, ask yourself, what is it in me that needs to be cleansed? What is it that I need to clear out to free up space for God, right? Like what is it? And then I feel like on that continued on Tuesday, correct? Where he's still preaching and he's still talking to everybody, and it's more bold in his, like he's getting more bold and saying he's calling people out basically for their behavior during those that Monday and Tuesday. And the whole like that tune changes and people are like, wait a minute, aren't you supposed to be here to save us? Like, why are you like, this doesn't look like
You're
what
making us uncomfortable.
you're making us uncomfortable. That's a really good
No
way to
one
put
wants
it,
to be uncomfortable.
right? You're not doing it the way that I thought you were going to do it. So now I'm going to question who you are. Mm. How many times have we done that in our lives? How many
I
times?
know, look, we're going down a different path than I thought we were going to because now I'm
Yeah,
like, huh.
I know. But it is it
But
it
it's
is
important.
it's important
Like,
to do self-examine, right?
mhm.
And it's such a good time to do it because it really puts in perspective what Jesus gave up for us.
Mhm.
And you know, us being uncomfortable, a little uncomfortable and making decisions and complaining about it after knowing what he went through for us, it makes it it puts it all in perspective, honestly.
And
And
truth still does that. Truth still makes us uncomfortable,
oh,
right?
absolutely. Who wants to look at themselves and say, you need to switch this up or you need to change this and you shouldn't have done this? Hmm. Who wants to look at themselves like that?
Right. I know. Let's look. We'd rather look at other people and say they shouldn't do this and they should. Yeah.
Right, right. But we also have to self-reflect and say,
Right.
wait a minute. So,
Well, and it challenges our control
right.
when we're faced with that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So I feel like by Tuesday, people were like, wait a second, this is not, maybe he isn't the Messiah. Maybe
and
he,
even if he is, we don't like how he's making us feel.
exactly, exactly. So, we have this going on, and I can't, I, and again, have to think, what were his disciples thinking at that moment? Right? Like we already know Judas was questioning and not doing
Well,
like,
on Wednesday
and then Wednesday comes,
is when he agrees to betray him.
right? Yeah, for what is it, 30 pieces of silver?
Right. And
Nothing.
as we know in the end, Judas was didn't even care about it.
Right.
You know, he felt horrible that he'd done that to his
So
friend.
I don't know this information, and this is something that I would like to know. How long Judas was a disciple? Like how
Oh, I
long
don't
was he?
know.
I would like to know that because it's, even if it was like it had to be more than a few months, right? Because he definitely was involved with a lot. However, I don't know like the
I mean,
time
he was in
frame.
charge of the money.
Right. So
He
he
was,
had to
so
earn
I'm gonna
trust.
guess, yeah.
Yeah,
It,
because I feel like he had to earn some trust there. Jesus knew what he was going to
and
do.
we don't know. I mean, he made, and forgive me, Bible scholars and historians,
Right.
if you're listening to this podcast.
Right.
I don't know if he had always been stealing from,
Mhm.
do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because he was in charge of the money, so I don't know. Um, but think about, regardless,
Mm.
the betrayal didn't come from a stranger.
No.
It didn't come from his biggest critic.
Mm-mm.
It didn't come from a Pharisee.
Right.
It came from someone close to him,
Right.
right?
And the fact that it wasn't a surprise to Jesus.
And he knew, and and this, and he still sat at the table with him.
Right. And washed his feet.
And yeah, and that
Mm.
kind of love is hard to wrap our mind around.
Right. When we
To know,
can't even forgive someone that said something nasty to us.
right, like he
Right.
knew that, I mean, this, he was going to be crucified for goodness sakes.
Right.
And yet Jesus still showed him love,
Right.
right?
Right. He still loved him. He still, you know, you have to wonder, like, was Jesus hoping that he would change? Like, you have to wonder, but
Well,
it's part of Jesus's, it's part of,
I think he knew.
and
I
yeah,
think he knew what he was going to choose. I think
right.
he, Anyway, on to Thursday.
Yeah.
The
Like, I
Last Supper.
mean,
Yep.
if and again, I know people have their feelings about the show The Chosen, right? It puts humanity behind the faces. I don't think you should, when you think of Jesus, you shouldn't think of Jonathan Rumi, right? You shouldn't think that's who Jesus, what Jesus looked like. You shouldn't think that's what Judas looked like. It kind of puts the reality behind what truly happened, right? And I know they may take liberties and things like that. That was one of the most difficult scenes to watch was Judas kissing Jesus on the cheek and had like as he walked up and the disciples' faces like, what are you doing? Where have you been? Why are you walking with these soldiers? What's going on? And the hurt in their eyes and just Jesus's face, and you're thinking, what was he thinking in those moments? And he had just come out from praying and wrestling with this, what was about to happen, and finding that the three disciples were asleep as he was praying when he asked them, what was it, three times to stay awake, right? Just don't fall asleep, watch out. And he goes into the garden and he's praying and he's asking
He's,
God if,
he's blood is coming out from his sweat.
right. And do you know that is like a thing?
Hmm.
Like from stress, like there are people that could
Yep.
actually sweat blood. And he was, having this conversation and praying to God, like, if there's any other way, spare me. But your whatever your will is what I'm gonna do. And he walked like, we have to remember Jesus was human in that moment. He had what I believe anxiety. If you're sweating blood,
I mean, well, he knew it was coming.
he knew what was
And can you
coming.
imagine
No,
that you're
no,
going to go through this?
torture.
I mean, the public humiliation was like the least of the worries,
Right,
right? I mean,
right.
um,
So, and it's not like, so what I'm saying is not like this all happened quickly. Like they decided that he should be arrested, and it
it's
was
like
like
Palm Sunday, Good Friday, Easter Sunday,
it was a
right?
full week of this, knowing what was coming at the end of this week, and
Hmm.
the anticipation and the anxiety that had to come along with that. And so it's hard to wrap your mind around it all. It's really truly hard to say like, okay, well, okay, so we have Wednesday and Judas is the, Judas made that decision. He had made that decision on Wednesday, and then Thursday came
Hmm.
and it's the Last Supper. And Jesus is trying to tell his disciples without telling them, what was coming. This is our last meal together. Like, this is the last time we're going to break bread together. And that one of you is going to betray me. And he washed their feet and
All of their feet.
all of their feet, including Judas.
Yeah.
And I can't even, I can't even wrap my mind around that.
Well, and then imagine, I mean, we know in the end Judas felt so guilty that he took his own life, right?
Right,
Um, Imagine what that felt like to Judas.
right, right,
He still made the choice, but imagine knowing like this man is humbling himself, the
right,
King of Kings
right.
is washing my feet, right?
Like, what are you
Um,
doing? What are you doing right now? Right?
yeah.
Like, and I think, and I think it was so important. And I just looked down, I was incorrect. The Gethsemane was Thursday. It was not Wednesday. um, when he went into the garden and
Oh, after the Last Supper.
when he fully surrendered. Yeah. Um, I can't remember what I was just talking about. What were you just saying? I'm sorry. I know we do this a lot, and then we both forget.
Yep. That's okay. Moving along.
Um, just wrapping your mind around the fact of what was going on in that moment and how heavy that must have been to have all that weight on your shoulders. Literally, the weight of the world was on Jesus's shoulders. However, he still sat with his disciples. He took the time. He wasn't running around like think about what in that moment what most people would be doing, right? And he's sitting down breaking bread with the person that betrayed him, but with the people that loved him, and he couldn't fully tell them everything that was about to happen. He told them, they just didn't understand it. I mean, he
Mhm.
told them several times. And so that moment in at Gethsemane and the moment he surrendered was that Thursday. And when he says to when he's praying, it's not my will but yours. And that moment of truly accepting what was coming
Of
the next,
surrendering.
yeah. And the fact that he did that for us is just incredible. It's just incredible to me. Um, and I think for anybody that has watched The Passion of the Christ, I mean, I don't know what year that came out, but I feel like that was probably 20 years ago or maybe.
So it was probably 2004 because it was the
Okay.
year that Ella was born because I was
Okay.
pregnant with her when I saw it.
So 2004, I wasn't, I believed in God, but I was not where I am now. I wasn't even where I was in 2015. And I remember going to the movies, and I don't know why I thought I could see this movie in the movie theaters. And I think most people didn't realize that.
Right. I think we just thought it was going to be another pretty story about Jesus.
Right.
And
And
Mel Gibson, I think that was the very first time that I had, yes, we heard about Jesus dying on the cross for our sins and all of that, but that was to see the images that he created and the reality of what happened. Um, I think that was the very first time I had ever, it had sank in the way that it did,
right.
right?
Like we've read, like you read it in the Bible about the lashings, the
Mhm.
crown of thorns, the humiliation, the spitting on him, that it was 39 lashes because 40 would have killed him and they wanted him alive. They wanted him to suffer. And I remember so clearly, I went with my best friend and her mom. And
You're like, we're going to go have this fun time. You want to go to the movies,
right,
Missy?
I
We're going
think
to
we
go
went
see
to
this.
dinner. We were going to see this movie. And I have never been in an environment like that where people and grown men were sobbing. Like I remember I couldn't even catch my breath leaving watching the images that we just saw and I wasn't prepared for it. And then all I kept thinking was, I cannot believe he endured that. I can't believe he went through that. And I'm thinking, I've read this. I've read this before.
I've heard this story a million
I've heard
times.
it.
Yeah.
But to see the actual like
Hmm.
what he must experience, and then as a mom, right? I mean,
Right. I think when we first started talking about doing this
mhm,
podcast, I had just learned that the cross was actually eye level. It wasn't, for some reason, I always thought it was, and maybe the movie depicted that way or whatever, but I was,
Right. But
so
it was like it was not very far off the
when
ground.
he was talking to John and Mary, when he was telling John to take care of his mother, and and Mary, like he was, I mean, the
Right. It really truly was. I mean, if I've only been able to watch that movie once, and I do feel guilty because I'm like, I'm not the one that went through it. Um, it is very difficult to watch. It's very graphic.
the
It's
point of
very,
it
very
was,
graphic.
I think the point was, Missy, is that the understanding. So I don't think it's a terrible thing that you haven't watched it again,
Right.
right? I mean,
I've never
um,
forgotten it. I can tell you that.
you what?
I've never forgotten it. Like
Right.
I still see those images in my head, and I see whenever I think of that, I think of what he went through. I think of what Mary seeing her child, that's her baby. Like we all look at our children, right? Our grown children,
Hmm.
and we see them as little kids still. Like we can
Well,
imagine them as little kids.
and to think like Mary, again, Bible scholars, I might be missing something because this may be in there. An angel comes to her and
Mm-hmm.
says, "You're going to have God's baby." Right? She
Right.
goes through all of these things. She raises this little baby, right? And she
Right.
loves him and she watches, he's doing all the things and she sees him, grow to Christ and he's doing
Right.
these miracles and he's doing this and he's doing that. And I'm sure I can't imagine that she had any idea that God's son would it would end that way.
Right. Would
Well,
suffer.
what it looked like was going to end in that way.
Right.
And this was making me think, Missy, I people argue about, the cross necklaces. And
Yeah.
some people say you shouldn't wear the
Mhm.
crucifix with Jesus on it because he isn't on the cross.
Right.
And I don't think it's wrong to remember the suffering.
No. I think
And
you
I don't
have
think,
to.
huh?
Go ahead.
Yeah, um we get so caught up in these little things that don't matter.
Right.
But suffering, not that we should get caught up in the suffering,
Right.
because Sunday did come, he was resurrected, but it happened, and that's part of our salvation.
Right. You can't
Like
look at
he
the
was unrecognizable
right.
when it was over.
Right.
And I don't think it's wrong to remember the suffering.
Right.
I think that's an important part of our salvation.
Absolutely. Like we can't just look at all of the things at what Jesus does, right, for us on a daily basis, right? It's not just about that. That is a gift. It truly is a gift that God does as much as he does for us, right? That he's a friend, he's a father, that he can heal us, he can teach us, he can do all these things, right? But if he just suffered on the cross to give us the gift of heaven, that would have been enough too, right?
Hmm.
I mean, instead, it's a daily thing. He's the gift of the Holy Spirit. Like all these things that he has given us
That happened when he died. Yeah.
that happened when he died because of that. And the fact
Hmm.
that he suffered the way that he did is just that much more impactful. And so,
And yeah, he could have stopped it.
right,
He didn't.
no.
Love
And he was
stayed.
even
He
mocked,
asked God to forgive the people that were speaking against him.
right,
And there were people that believed that he was God's son because
mm,
of the way he was on the cross.
right,
The thief on the cross ended up in
mhm,
heaven because of Jesus, because Jesus could, he's doing his own suffering and he's
right,
sharing the gospel,
right,
right? He's the man that had nailed so many to the cross. That was his job.
right,
In the end, said that has to be the Son of God.
right,
He was a believer.
right.
Um, and in the end, he said, "It is finished." He didn't say, "I'm defeated. We lost."
I'm dying. Take
Yeah,
me.
it is
Yeah,
finished.
it's done.
That part is finished. And then when he died, it got dark.
Mm,
The skies went dark.
right.
The veil tore.
And
And I
it
was re
tore from the top, which I like you think about that. They when
Mhm.
you think about that, the veil and like if you don't know what this is about, and again, I'm not with all the details. Like I know what I know. But um there were so many rules back in that day, right? And that during that time we didn't have direct access to God, right? We didn't. Like there were, the sacrifices and all these different things that were in place. When that veil was torn, it was torn from the top to the bottom. It was like God Himself tore that veil and gave us access to Him. There was no need for that anymore.
Yeah, he came to us.
He came to us.
Yeah.
It,
And the veil, from what I read, is that it was like this thick, like as thick as your hand
yeah,
this way. And that it was very, very heavy. Like it took lots of people to carry it.
right,
And so it wasn't like it could have possibly just ripped.
right,
It wasn't like it was worn out or there's no
right,
possible explanation. And then our
right.
pastor this Sunday was talking about, which I had not heard, that people were saying, oh, yeah, it got dark because I mean, when you're looking not just in the Bible, but in other historical documents, it
Mhm.
talks about how it got dark.
Right.
And he was saying that people were saying, oh, it was um, an eclipse.
Mm,
And he was saying that, oh gosh, now I know I'm going to get my science wrong, that eclipses happen on the new moon, and this was
right.
a full moon,
Right. Or
but
vice versa. Yeah.
right, it doesn't match up scientifically
Right.
that. So I'm reading, I picked up these books. One is called it's called Herod and Mary, and it talks about King Herod and Mary in side by side because he was the king when Jesus was born.
Right.
And then the other one, which is Nero and Paul, which
Mhm.
Nero was the king when Paul was coming along.
Right.
And I definitely, if you're interested in like biblical history, I would definitely recommend it because it gets into the Kathy Lee Gifford, and then there's a scholar, which I don't remember his name, gets into all of the history that's in
Right.
other places, not just in the Bible, and then ties all of it in, and they're fascinating.
I love biblical history. I think it is what I find so fascinating is that there are so many atheists who have set out to prove all of this wrong or false rather that end up becoming believers because there's so much evidence.
Hmm.
Like there is just so, I mean, down to him resurrecting. Like
Hmm.
there's so much evidence
Hmm.
of the crucifixion, and just so much evidence of Jesus, right? And whether you believe or not, digging into this history and reading these books is not going to kill you, right? It's just going to give you, it's just going to give you some facts,
No, and
right?
it is interesting because when they're tying you know, recorded things that aren't in the Bible and it matches up,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
it's very, very, very interesting.
Right.
But
Like books that were written during that time that
right,
were not Christian based books that show evidence that he
of the
exists
things that the Bible's
and
talking
he
about
happened.
actually
Yeah,
happening.
it's just incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah. But let's talk about, so he dies on the cross.
Right.
Saturday. Imagine what Saturday was like.
I think we all can imagine.
Everything was lost. The
Hmm.
silence. This wasn't, he was supposed to be the King of Kings.
Right.
And a lot of people live here,
Mm,
the in-between space where you don't see what God is doing. I know we're
absolutely.
human. We've all been there,
That waiting, that in
but he's still
between.
working in the silence,
Right. It's that
right?
in between time when something happens and you have to wait for an
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
And we've all been there. And I can't imagine again what his apostles and his believers and, and Mary
You're like,
and
what happens? What
like
happens?
and the people that they thought like he like you just said like he was the king, he was supposed to save them, and he did, just not in the way
Hmm.
that they thought it was going to happen.
Hmm.
It's yeah, it's overwhelming to think about. It really is. And it's quiet and they're like scrambling and the confusion.
All hope is lost. What are
Right.
we going to do now?
What happens next?
We've wasted all this time.
Right.
And then Sunday came.
Yeah.
The stone rolled away.
Hmm.
Death didn't win. And what was final wasn't. And I love the story where Mary Magdalene was the first one that saw him.
Right.
And I was actually, it was weird. I was like thinking about like specifically that. And of all things, you're gonna really laugh at this, Missy. Of all things, I was just trying to think of like, because they knew Jesus personally, like as
Right.
in his human form, they knew him personally.
Right.
So I was like, I don't know, like I was like, God, this will make me feel emotional, like who in my life that has passed away,
Mm.
that if I could just like one more time.
Mm.
And I thought of Pop Eddie of all people. And I think because, he like, right, he was my father figure, right?
Right.
And I think about Mary Magdalene and how it says, I mean, in the Bible, it actually says, "Woman, get off of me," or something, because she's so happy to see him. And
Right.
I just thought, I just had this image of me as a little girl. And if
Mhm.
that were to happen,
Right.
and it were Pop, and it made me like just weep for a second and feel it like I just can't imagine what that felt like for her to have. She
Right.
was there. She watched it.
Right.
It was John, Mary Magdalene,
Yeah.
Mary,
The other
and
ones
they're,
left.
yeah,
Yeah.
they couldn't watch it. She watched it. She saw him take his last breath.
Right.
You know, um,
Right.
and woman, get off of me. Like,
Right.
like
Right.
I got work to do.
Right.
And then, and then later, and then him walking to Emmaus, and then running into those guys and then disappearing. And then, because they're like, did you hear about what happened?
Did
And
you hear about it? And then he's like,
Jesus is like,
no.
Yeah,
What
Jesus is
happened?
like, yeah. And then them realizing, like, oh my gosh, we were just in the presence of Jesus.
Right.
And
And and the fact that he stayed so long and that he revealed himself and people were like, I don't know. I don't believe you. And he's
can you
like, oh,
imagine? I know. I know. Can you imagine that?
right,
They're like us. They've had people die. They've had,
right.
and then so anyway,
And I think you have to really understand and go back and reflect on Holy Week to really be able to appreciate Easter Sunday
Mhm.
and Resurrection Sunday. Some people don't like the word Easter. I don't know, but you know, you have to really go back.
Is
And
Easter a pagan word? Word is that
I
why?
think it is. But I feel like there's so much of Christianity that has pagan words.
Oh, I know. I just wondered, like, what
I think
the
it is. And I just like,
and look, here's the thing: is that um, religion can really mess everything up. I love my
absolutely.
church. I love the
Right,
churches that I've been to,
right.
but Jesus, religion, we get caught up in the things. And
Well,
I respect that. If you want to say Resurrection Day, I think that's beautiful, and I think that's calling it what it is.
right,
And it takes away the commercialism and things.
right.
But look, listen, on Sunday, Easter Sunday, Resurrection Sunday,
Mhm.
my plan is to go to church. Tim
Mhm.
and I always go to breakfast. We're going to go pick my parents up. We're going to go to my daughter Tori's house, and we're having a celebration
Right,
with family. And there will be an Easter egg hunt, and there'll be food, and
right,
and there's nothing wrong with that. The last thing I want you to get from this podcast is that you can't celebrate and you can't be with
right,
family and you can't do traditions. That's
right,
between, and if you're listening to this and you don't do those things, I respect that.
right.
But again, this isn't a doom and gloom podcast,
No.
right?
And that's what I think what you just said. It is so important to realize that religion can truly block you from Jesus. It
Like
really,
we're worried about a cross with Jesus on it or a cross without Jesus on it. We're worried about these
right,
little things that doesn't matter.
right. It's your heart. And it's that, do you love Jesus? Are you every day waking up and you are doing everything in your power to honor God, right? It's your heart posture. There are people out there that go like you did, mission trips. They do all these things. It's where your heart is. If you're not going on a mission trip to go help people, you're doing it so you can post it on social media. That's not being like God,
Well, I'm going to tell you, if in my experience in Africa, if your motives aren't straight, God will straighten them out.
right?
So you
Right,
don't have to worry about that because let me tell you,
right.
there's plenty of suffering.
It'll be straightened out real quick.
There's
Right,
plenty, you start that ego starts
right,
inflating he trust me, it
right,
may look that way, but if that is the intent, he will straighten it out. Like,
right. And I think it is all about your heart posture. I believe Jesus wanted us to have community. I think that's what he showed us when he was here on earth.
and he laughed and he had fun.
And he was, danced with his, disciples and he like you said laughed and had a good time and all these things and he felt all of it. And
Do you remember Uncle Steve? He was married to Aunt Joyce on Grandma Cass's side. I don't know that you
I
remember. They
don't
were
think
like on the fifth.
so.
Well, he would always say he was always like chosen to pray at the thing, and
Mhm.
he would always say Jesus loved a good party. And
Oh,
I didn't understand at the
right,
time because no one else was talking like that.
right.
right?
Right.
Now I understand what he meant,
Right.
right? It's good to be with your friends
Yes.
and family and laugh and
Right.
have a good time. And, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. And I think
Um,
there's so many, and this is where I get tripped up, is that there's so many different denominations. There's so many different viewpoints, and people believe this way or that way. And I just think about the thief on the cross next to Jesus, that up until his, last day, he was doing things that were not Christ-like, right? And all he had to do was believe. That's all he had to do.
Right.
He had to
Right.
believe, and he went to heaven. And I'm not saying like, I'm
Wait
not
till the last minute.
wait till the last minute. I'm saying that, you know, outward appearances need to line up with your heart. It
Mm.
needs to be where if you're going to church, you're going because you want to be in community with people and you want to.
Right. But we have to be careful. We have to be careful being like their outside appearance doesn't line up with their heart.
Well, no,
We
I'm
have to
saying not
look at it
appearance.
like my outside appearance isn't lining up with
Right.
my,
That's
do
what
you
I
know what
mean.
I mean? Yeah.
Like,
So
and
we want to make sure we're keeping it
right, personal.
self-reflective.
Right.
Yes.
And I mean, what I do and what I believe needs to match what's in my heart,
Mhm.
correct?
Right.
And
And we
then
fall short. I fall short.
all the time,
Oh my gosh.
all the time.
Oh my gosh. If you guys followed me around with the camera, you'd be like, well,
Right.
maybe not, I don't know. I don't want to say that, but I don't want to make it be like I'm some heathen. But
Right. But
we
I
have
when I
we have our moments.
we have our moments, and when I say appearances, it's your actions. I don't mean what you look like, because I've met some people that live some really rough lives that knew more about God and were way more faithful in things than I ever have been. And so I'm saying, like, your actions need to line up with what is in your heart. And I get it why some people can turn away from Christianity, because a lot of times now it's so different. Like, sometimes it is a show or things like that.
There's arguing a bunch again with the denominations,
Right. It's like we're
and
all
it's
trying to do
like,
the
does
same
it
thing here.
matter?
Right.
Right. Some things matter,
Some things matter.
but Jesus is
However,
at the yeah, I mean, I don't know. They'll know us. What does it say
right.
that how we love each other? They'll know us by how we love each
And
other.
it's
And
not up to us to sit here and like you've said before, unless you're doing self-harm or hurting someone else, obviously we need to step in and be vocal. However, it's not my job to condemn someone else because of the way that they're worshiping, right? It's just not my job to do that.
right. And again, like if you're close with somebody and something's going on and they're like falling off
Right.
the rails, that's a
Right.
different story. We are called to do that. But
Absolutely.
but right. Yeah, I mean, there yeah.
Yeah. And
Worry about yourself. That's what
worry about yourself, right? And I just think that that personal connection with God, you'll know it when you have it. There's
Mhm.
no other way I can explain it. The feeling of being connected with God, and the peace that he gives, and the relationship that he allows us to have with him. I just say, and my advice is, it's only Tuesday. Take the next few days, dive a little
Well,
deeper.
except for they're not going to hear it until Thursday.
Well, that's true. But anyway, I
Us.
will be I will definitely post on social media too, and I have been
You haven't. I noticed this, yes.
just because I feel like I'm so connected this year with this week. I don't it, like I'm very aware of what each day is for some reason. I think I have the time and the brain capacity to sit and really
And
read and
God's pointing it out to you,
write.
right? And he's giving you a voice in this podcast.
Yeah,
Yep, and we would love to hear from others if you're like surprised by any of this, if
right.
your feelings on this.
Right.
I think that I do believe that, Missy, that God's like, hey, look at this.
Right.
This
Like
is
learn more, dig
enough about the
deeper.
wedding. Let's talk about
You have spent enough time on that. No, I'm having
yeah.
a blast with the wedding, but I think it's just when you slow down for a second and you can really take a moment to connect with these and walk through this week and really let it like sit with it, like sit with that and what it means and all the events that happened. It will give you a greater appreciation when Sunday comes. And, you know, and we say he is risen. It is finished. He is risen. He's not
Yes.
there. Like
Yeah.
someone said, cancel the funeral because he's not there. He's alive. Like I love
Mhm.
that. Um, Read historical books. Like, I mean, it's so interesting to me. Not
Or
everybody like,
listen to them. I've been listening to them on Audible.
yeah, yeah.
And
There's plenty of like different documentaries and things like that. And one book that I have not actually, I'm just looked at it. Um, it's sitting right here. It's called The Case for Christ, and I have not
oh
read it.
yes, yes. He was an attorney, I think.
Yeah, he was a journalist, and I
A
think he might have
journalist.
been. I
Oh.
don't. Maybe he was
I, it was might have been another
could have
somebody
been.
else who was an attorney. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a legal editor.
Oh,
So there you go. We were both right. Um, he was a legal editor, and his wife, I watched the movie, but I've heard the book is like 100 times better. Short story, his wife became a believer and he was an atheist, and he set out as a journalist to prove her wrong. And he ended up becoming a believer, and he's now written several books, and this is one of them, The Case for Christ. And the movie was really good, but I've heard the book is even better. So just there's so many ways to learn about God. If you're interested, there's many ways to do that. And Karen and I will be happy to talk to you. Like I said, I only know what I know. I'm still learning too. There's a lot of
and
information.
everybody's still learning.
Yeah.
Our pastor even says he's still learning.
Oh, yeah. And I don't
But
think it's a destination. I don't think it's like, oh, I've read the Bible. I'm done.
but remember last week when I was talking about Joyce Meyer and how when she started,
Right.
she was smoking cigarettes and wearing short shorts.
Right. Right. Right.
So, like God, when he calls you into this, the refinement, whatever that looks like,
Right.
he gives us a voice and he gives us, and we have our little audience
Right.
that
Yeah. And honestly, too, that I can read the same verse 7 different times and I can get something out of it seven different
it's a
ways.
living word,
It's
right?
wild to me how it depends on what the message that God wants to teach us. So we can read that, but get a different message each time that we read it. And so I don't think you're ever finished. I don't think you don't ever know all there is to know. And
And he's always revealing himself in new ways
oh
through
my
new
gosh,
people, through
yeah.
new experiences,
Right.
through, surprising us.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've never understood that when people were like, your relationship, he pulls you deeper. And I was like, huh? And now I get it because I feel like what I know right now, I didn't know a year ago or 2 years ago. And it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That's what that means. But then I'll keep going, and there's just never enough. Like, I always want to know more. And I just love that. Like, I used to think when my type A personality, when I first became a believer, I'm like, I have to read all the books. I have to do all the Bible studies. I got to do all these things. I'm never
And
going
then
to catch
you're
up.
going to arrive. Like at some point you're going
Right.
to arrive like these other people
Right.
have.
Right. And when
And
you
yeah.
realize like you're going to meet people who are further along in their journey than you are, and
Mhm.
you may compare yourself. Don't do that because
But
what he
here's right.
wants to teach you is what he wants to teach you at that moment, right where you are. He's going to meet
But
you right
yeah,
where you are.
right where you are. But also it's so simple too.
So
It's
simple.
wonderful to know, learn all the details and all the history and all the things, but
Right.
let's not forget how simple it is
It's so simple.
that
God loves
he
us.
died on the cross for our sins, right?
Right.
Um, and and God sent his only son to
Mhm.
die for us. It's
Right.
that simple. It's
Right.
that simple. And and if you don't ever learn anything else,
Right.
that's enough. But the thing of it is like once that sinks into your heart, you want to know more, 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 and you discover the
Right.
living God, and then, um, yeah,
And honestly, I'm still learning like why did it have to be that way? Why did he have to die like that? Was it like why? Why did it
right.
have to be
Will we
just
ever understand? Will
what
we
we
ever know?
right? And it's like, no, we probably won't. And but there was when we talked about this before that there were several people close to him, and there were many more that weren't close to him, but the people closest to him, his disciples, died horrific deaths. And they
Because they
didn't die
refused to deny
right,
what really happened.
right. I mean, horrific
And
deaths.
people have said this all through history. No one's going to die for a lie.
Right, right,
And yeah,
right.
so I don't know, miss.
I think that I think that if you walk away from this just feeling that loved, because that's the whole purpose, is that God loved us so much that this is the way it had to be. His
He
son
wrapped
had to
himself in
die,
flesh,
right,
walked the earth.
and walk this earth, and loves us so much that to this day he gave us the gift of the Holy Spirit, of a relationship with him, the promise of heaven, to spend eternity with him and our loved ones that have passed on. He's a loving father, and I hope that and pray for everybody that watches this that you
Yes.
will feel the love of God, and that you have a beautiful week where you just remember how loved that you are.
Yes.
Yeah, so any last words?
No, no, this was wonderful. This
So
was wonderful.
happy
It
Easter.
was powerful walking through
It
it.
was powerful.
It
And
was
I've
powerful walking through it.
each day I've been kind of like reading through or reflecting on what each day is. And I think that um not everybody has the time to do that. Like I know a lot of people are super busy, but even just taking a few minutes each day to say thank you,
This
God,
is the
for
day he
what you
flipped the
did.
tables. This is the day,
Right.
by the even the Last Supper is going to be Thursday. This is the Last
Right.
Supper. The Last Supper is so interesting, like how it went down and um, so
Right. So, happy Easter, happy
yep.
Resurrection Day. We love you all, and we will see you next week.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Ciao.